Hello and welcome to Cellular Healing episode 34. Warren Phillips here, host, along with Dr. Dan Pompa, our expert today. We've been flooded with a lot of questions. Look, Dr. Pompa looks like Jesus this morning with the sun shining on him per usual. So this is a live show, and in live shows we get the sunlight changing throughout the show. But we get so many questions about thyroid fatigue, and I know from experience having adrenal fatigue, thyroid issues, in my health journey and health path, it's an interesting dance because many doctors are driving the idea that you're adrenal fatigue. Oh, I know what's wrong with you. You're in adrenal fatigue. They've been to all the doctors. They come into a natural health practitioner. Of course, you have adrenal fatigue, and they're true, and it's right. They go ahead and they address the adrenals, and the person's still sick. So this adrenal thyroid dance is the same thing. They come in, you have a thyroid issue. Of course, they go to their medical doctor, they take the medication, yet still have symptoms, go to a natural doctor with a thyroid issue, take natural thyroid supplements, and still have a lot of the symptoms, only feeling a little bit better, whether it be from the thyroid meds or the natural supplements. But there is a dance between the adrenal thyroid dance and this hormone dysregulation, and Dr. Pompa is, in my opinion, and the opinion of many others and the doctors that we serve. I just saw a testimony the other day coming from one of our doctors on our blog site of one of these patients just getting their life back after being so sick. So Dr. Pompa, let's share with our audience today some of the success stories, some of the challenges with this adrenal thyroid dance that we have with the world today.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right in what you said in the opening, that, look, I talk to challenged, very, very sick people every day, and I hear their stories, right? They call in, and when everybody that calls in, I mean, I try to speak to them, right? I mean, I get every one of them, really, I believe, and, at least an hour of my day is devoted to that, and I hear their stories, and in their stories, a lot of the same things, and it's, I've been diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, where I have a thyroid condition, and I always have to say the same thing. Well, that's all fine and good. However, that's downstream. Your adrenals are the whipping boy, for you not adapting to stress. And yes, does it make you more tired? Does it make you more irritable potentially? Not sleep as well? Absolutely. The thyroid, can it cause sudden weight gain, not be able to lose weight, hair thinning, dry skin, low energy? Absolutely. But the thyroid is the canary in the coal mine. It's very sensitive to toxins. There's always an upstream cause to both of those conditions. And yet, I can't tell you. Look, on one side, we have medical doctors throwing medications at it. There's a time and a place, perhaps. But, in the long run, if you're not working upstream, you're never, ever going to get those conditions well. And then on the alternative side, same thing's going on. We're throwing more and more hormones at it, even bioidentical hormones. Again, time and a place. Even have, recommend bioidentical hormones. However, those are crutches until you figure out what's upstream. If your doctor, if you're watching this, if your doctor is not going upstream and really looking for why your thyroid and your adrenals are not functioning normal, then change doctors. Warren said I'm one of the leading experts in this. Well, look, I believe that I am just because I go upstream. I mean, how do you get someone permanently well without removing the cause of why their adrenals or thyroid aren't functioning correctly? And to me, it's so simple, it's so basic, but yet I can't find doctors. That's why we're training doctors around the country to do this, to go upstream, Warren.
Yeah, I had a conversation with one of our peers I think it was yesterday, outside. I was walking around, and it was the guy that owns Thyroid. We interviewed Ravi Bester. I was on the phone with him yesterday. Just a great soul, great heart. I think I even shared that conversation. I said that there's one we do different, as a company, as a movement, that the health centers of the future and the doctors that we train, is that we aren't into putting a Band-Aid on the problem. And many physicians have the attitude, natural health, I'm talking about physicians, have this attitude, well, most people can't handle that much change in their life, even if they do a little bit better. Take a supplement, take the soy-based, even though it's toxic, whey protein, not whey protein, but protein powder with fructose in it. It's way better than what they're doing. They can't handle that much change, so that's what I'm going to give them. And told Robbie, I said, look, we just can't do that. We have to preach truth and love and give people everything that they deserve, which is the whole truth, and let them make a decision. Because at the end of the day, people need to be told the truth and everything about it. Therefore, the true leading and the transformation, the movement can happen. It would be like Martin Luther King, preaching a quinky message about the injustices that were going on. Well, it's not that bad. If you do a little bit of change, it'll be okay. Well, you're not going to create a movement like that. You got to call a spade, and allow people to respond to that, emotionally, and come around that movement. And that's what we're here to do today. And when we talk about thyroid and adrenal issues, a lot of doctors are saying, well, they might even know that it could be something more, more going on, but it's just easy enough to give them some adrenal products, and say, hey, stop drinking coffee, and then there's their adrenal protocol. And never addressing that usually the adrenal issue is, 7 stages of dysfunction, lower, and it has a lot to do with toxicity and hormone dysregulation that eventually came down to this massive adrenal fatigue that showed up on a test. And usually when things show up on a test, they've been going on for what, Dr. Pompa, 10, 15 years. So that's what I love about the approach and the training you have with our physicians. And me as an outside, I guess, sort of supporting health expert, that on the business side, that really makes me excited because I know that the truth is being preached through health centers of the future and through great doctors.
Well, I kind of want to give them some pointers about the
let's do it.
And the adrenals. I always like to give some solid take-home and advice. But I guess in a nutshell, when you look at the three-legged stool, I talk about that within the autoimmune and how autoimmune started. If you haven't read the article Autoimmune Answers, please do, because I talk about this three-legged stool of cause and as an answer. But it really goes beyond autoimmune. One of the legs of the stool are always going upstream and removing the source, the stressors that turn on the gene. And
I gave you an invite, Dr. Pompa, so I can draw for you if you want.
Yeah, if you can draw the stool, I'll just quickly go through it and just kind of show you. And I do this just to set up context for everything that I want to talk about. But so when you look at the stool, obviously, what is the concept of a three-legged stool? If you don't have one leg, it's not going to stand up. Well, your treatment, your solution won't stand up if you don't address all 3 legs. Today, Warren, just changing your diet is not going to get somebody well. If someone changed their diet when we were growing up, boy, I mean, it's like every health condition went away.
Right.
Well, why is that? Because there's other factors going on. We have neurotoxins that we're being exposed to like no time in the history of man. They have this ability to turn on certain genes. And once these genes get turned on, then they're expressing, your body, your cells are expressing certain symptoms, conditions that you don't like. So part of the treatment, if you will, part of the solution has to be to turn off those genes. And we know how to do that today. I mean, there's so much new science, with epigenetics and turning off changing gene expression. So that's one leg of the stool. But then you have to go back and ask what turned them on. And this is where you have to work with somebody who's looking upstream at these types of toxins and really knows how to remove them at the cellular level. And by the way, that's a big issue because most doctors are giving people these goofy little cleanses and doing these little simple cleanses, and really it's surface scraping compared to true cellular detox. And then the last leg is that microbiome. The gut today is just a mess in most people, and without certain bacteria, when these bacteria in your gut are missing, we can't regulate our immune system, inflammation, how our bodies work. So it is this three-legged stool of why people are getting sick. It's this three-legged stool of how we get them well. So you have to go to a doctor who understands this very, very well. So it's all really exciting new information, but it's how you get people well in the 21st century. I would say the last 10 years, the game has changed. Alternative doctors just can't give supplements anymore and get people well and change the diet. You can't be a medical doctor just pushing medication, chasing symptoms. It's not going to work. We've got to go deeper, folks. That's what this is about. Let's talk thyroid real fast. Look, people go to their doctor. They have a certain set of symptoms, right? And it's the same thing. You know, they don't feel well, their energy is not well, maybe they don't sleep well, their hair is getting thinner, their skin is dry, they temperature dysregulation, hot, cold, cold all the time, cold extremities, hot at times. You know, we hear the same stories. All of a sudden they gain weight, and all of a sudden they can't lose weight. So the same diets don't work anymore. Same stuff. But okay, so they go
by the way, that was me. You look at me now and say, how could you have a thyroid problem, Warren? You know, you look healthy, you work out. Well, I remember Dr. Pompa, you know, one of the symptoms I had that just when you were talking about that is taking a hot shower would wipe me out. And that's a thyroid issue. And who would think that? You can't thyroid regulates your temperature, correct? And it sends out, it interacts with the adrenals there too, I believe. But again, explain why that happens, why I couldn't even take a hot shower and then I have to lay down in bed and be wiped out after, or a hot bath, forget about it. You know, done.
Yeah, you're not adapting to stress, even the stress of temperature. Your body has to adapt. When you get into a hot shower, go out in the cold, your body has to make those adaptations. And that system of your pituitary in your brain, your thyroid, and your adrenals, that, you know, axis, as they call it, is off, and we'll talk about some major causes. When that is off, you don't adapt to stress. And that's, by the way, why people end up irritable. That's why they're emotional, crying all the time. So the reason you can't adapt to the hot shower is the same reason you don't adapt to your, you know, husband or wife or children and the stress that they potentially can bring. So
one of my words is after, you know, a hot shower, I just want to rip heads, or I'd be massively fatigued. You know, I'd either be irritable or fatigued, one of the two. And as a, you know, I'm a Christian, so, you know, that even makes it worse. You know, not that I'm the poster child for acting well all the time, but even myself, I'm like, whoa, that's not good. You know, I know that's a huge contrast of, you know, what I claim I should do on a daily basis. Of course, I have grace for myself, but I was definitely acting way out of character, and I'm like, you know, I don't want to be this person. And you know, it's almost like when you're, you know, I won't get into that, you know, I'm going off rabbit trail, but stop me now, Dr. Pompa. You didn't know where I was going on that one, but I stopped. But, you know, it was really a hard time for someone like me who knew that behavior was wrong. And I think that internal struggle, you know, even makes people get kind of depressed, you know, that they just can't control their emotions.
Well, yeah, I mean, depression's a part of it as well. And again, they go to their doctor, and what happens, they end up on psychotropic drugs. Does it help? Oh, yeah, most of the time. It helps. It covers up symptoms, right? Then it stops working, and then you need more, or you need a different one. You know, now you're on the treadmill. You're ready to get thrown off the back because that treadmill keeps speeding up. You know, but now we're on the alternative doctor's treadmill. You're on this vitamin, you're on that vitamin, you're on the next new thing. So both sides have a treadmill. You know, it's like the ultimately not getting on the treadmill is, in fact, getting upstream to the cause. You know, but when that system, that axis, the pituitary, the thyroid, the adrenals goes off, we don't adapt to stress. And you're right, I can't believe my wife didn't leave me, you know, when I was sick. I couldn't adapt to anything. I mean, I remember her having to take the kids and just go. I would tell her, just take the kids and go, because I was that irritable. I was that on edge. Of course, it messes your sleep up. You know, you wake up in the middle of the night, can't get back to sleep, or you don't go to sleep, right? You're just revved up because your cortisol's flipped, you know, and you're wiped out in the morning or all day long. Yeah, I mean, can you take things for that? Nat things? No, absolutely. I could think of 5 things right now. And those things are sometimes needed. But ultimately, how did we both get our lives back? We went upstream, you know, and we got rid of the cause. And we had different causes, really, of how we ended up sick, you and I, and but yet very similar presentation. You know, and that's like most of the people watching. So they go to the people that have these symptoms. You go to your doctor and you say, I think I have a thyroid issue, and you get blood work done. And one of two things happens. Either it's normal, which most of the time for the first 10, 20 years it's normal. Mm-hmm. Even though they're going, oh, it's not that. Well, look, you know, Warren, you said it. It takes, you know, 20, 30 years for the blood work to go off. You know, to finally it shows up. Well, let's say it does show up. Then what does he do? He puts you on a medication, typically T4 in this case. And does it help? Sometimes it does. Yeah, sometimes it does. It helps you produce more hormone and get more hormone into the cell, and you feel better. Well, most of the time, it actually makes your blood work look better, but unfortunately, you don't feel better. So you're to the doctor, and he's going, yeah, your TSH is now within normal range. your levels are all better. It's not your thyroid of why you don't feel well, but doctor, I still have the same symptoms. It's like, what's going on? It's like, well, your blood work's better, so it must be something else. Well, no. Look, any medication can make your blood work look better, but the fact is you don't feel better. And here's the bottom line. Without getting into it, we don't have time. The bottom line is, if you could take all the hormone in the world, and your brain can think everything is good. So therefore, your blood looks normal. However, you're not getting the message in the cell. So again, when we go back to the cell, you have to fix the cell to get well. And after all, this is, in fact, Cellular Healing TV. So here's your cell. So this hormone is outside of the cell. In this case, active thyroid hormone is called T3. Well, you can put all of the hormone back in the body you want, but if that hormone can't get its magic in here and alter the DNA in your mitochondria, you're not going to lose weight. You're not going to have more energy. You're not going to feel well. But because your brain thinks that the hormone out here, everything's okay, all your blood work looks normal. But the problem is you're not getting the hormone in the cell. So it's like this. Your cells now become more and more deaf to the hormone. And by the way, the more hormone you take, the more deaf the cell becomes. And the analogy I love to give, Warren, is, you're not to this point yet, but you will be one day. The louder we shout at our kids, especially as they become teenagers, the less they hear us. Meaning that in the beginning, when you shout at your kids, they're scared. It works.
Yeah, Tula, it works. I raised her voice last night, and
it works, yeah. Right? But eventually, the louder you go, the less Tula will hear you. That's like giving hormones, whether it's bioidentical or whatever it is. Yeah, it works in the beginning. We kind of feel a little bit better. But ultimately, then the cell becomes more and more deaf, and now we don't hear the hormones at all, just like our kids don't hear us at all. Another analogy is like trying to take gasoline. Your car runs out of gas, and you're dumping the gasoline on the car because you can't get it in. Your darn gas tank is locked, so you just decide to dump the gasoline on the car. Well, that's what people are doing with hormones. You've got to get the gas in the car. So therefore, hormones really, because the epidemic is inflammation of the cell, hormone treatment only works so far, and really ultimately it doesn't get to the cause. We have to ask ourselves, why cannot this hormone get into the cell? And ultimately the answer is inflammation, but then we have to ask ourselves, well, what is causing inflammation? And of course we know that certain neurotoxins are the driving force. And I want to say one more thing, because that's one reason. Right. Another reason is autoimmune, which again, folks, read the article, because autoimmune is a massive, massive growing epidemic of people. Now we can have toxins that attach to certain receptors, thyroid receptors. Your own immune system is creating inflammation, driving the inflammation, and now the body is not getting the hormone in the cell, or it's not making enough hormone, it's not converting enough hormone. So these are the real issues. Did your doctor even test you for autoimmune? And even if he did, what's he going to do? His treatment's the same. That's probably why most doctors don't even test you for autoimmune. But most people watching this are autoimmune to some point. Even if you get the test, you run thyroid antibodies, they were negative. Once again, it takes years being autoimmune before you actually show up on a blood test autoimmune. So in the treatment for autoimmune versus a non-autoimmune case is completely different. But I just want to really get people to realize, Warren, that you have to go upstream. What causes autoimmune? Read the article. It is a three-legged stool. But toxins are a big issue. The thyroid is a canary in a coal mine. Very sensitive to heavy metals like mercury. Very sensitive to halogens, chlorine, bromine. These things that we're exposed to today like never before. Our kids are drinking soda, Gatorade, all these things that are loaded with bromine that interferes with the thyroid. Silver fillings in our mouth, leaching mercury right up into our pituitary that runs our thyroid. These are causative factors, Warren. And this is where people need to look for their ultimate solution. Run the next test isn't the answer. Taking the next hormone is not the answer.
I just posted that article with Dr. Pompa on cellularhealing.tv so that people can access that quickly. I'm going to hit publish comment. Perfect. So that's there. So yeah, I mean, it was interesting when we first, during our health journey, which, for me was almost 10 years ago, Dr. Pompa, is when I showed up, sick, in your Wexford, at your doorstep, and you started, taking care of me and speaking into my life, a broken man with no future, really. I tell that story all the time to people. I told it to a story to the guy at the store the other day. I just can't help but continue to tell a story of how God gave me my life back when I didn't deserve it. And even then, I remember the patients. The autoimmune epidemic wasn't, I would say, half of what we're seeing it today. And I don't know why that's the case. I have no idea. But I remember the cellular healing diet alone transforming lives. And today, what it seems to be happening is diet alone causes more autoimmune conditions, maybe because the mass inflammation in the gut, more leaky gut is happening. I don't know, but I just remember the cellular healing diet was the magic bullet back in the day. Now, as the sickness and disease has progressed, this downregulation of the autoimmune and a lot of the strategies that you use with our doctors, and thank God, for people like Jordan Rubin and some of these other experts that have, paved the way for some of these, and even Joseph McCullough, for that matter, the Microbiome Project, when he partnered with that, and some of these experts that really have looked into the autoimmune issue. And what I love about what we do, we read the research and just don't go, wow, that's great research on thyroid, that's great research on autoimmune. We start putting it into practice. And I remember Jordan Rubin saying that to you. It's like, Dan, you're a pioneer, because when you hear truth, you just go out and you do it, even though it may be hard to do. And that's why we do what we do. So if you're a viewer watching this and you want, to do the right things, you need to get in touch with us. We can put you in touch with one of our doctors. But let's, I hate to get into this, Dr. Pomp, and you may not want to go here, but what are some of the, we're not Band-Aid fixers, here at Cellular Healing TV. We, heal the cell, you get well, remove the interference, the body does the healing. But, at times we do need some support so that we can function on a day-to-day basis. So, I know for me, I've been traveling. I was in Paris, and I, spent a lot of time. I was over there, and I lived it up. While I was over there, I had a great time with my wife. We reconnected, which is definitely important for your health. And I am now back on a lot of methylation, and because I take the one of the products that I take is Perk B12, and then it's hydroxycobalamin and Fullerenes, both strong methyl donors, and also Moore's by Systemic Formulas. I don't have it here. I have it at home. And, why would I take that after doing a lot of oxidative stress? How would that help my adrenals? And then go off into some of these other adrenal tips, and then maybe some thyroid tips, just so people know that they can get some support as they're, trying to find a doctor that knows, how to remove the cause and get them their life back.
Yeah, methylation, you need methyl groups to adapt to any stress. So the adrenals ultimately need it, because methyl groups, you need to activate cortisol and adrenaline and all the stress hormones. You also need them to deactivate it. So when you're stressed, you're going to use more methylation. The need is greater. So supporting it when you're under stress is very, very important. That's why it's one of the 5 R's, by the way, because methylation is R5, reestablishing methylation, because it's so depleted today. Toxic stress depletes it. Emotional stress, physical stress, all deplete methylation. Athletes need more. People who are more stressed with adrenal fatigue need more methylation. Otherwise, you will turn bad genes on, just like I was explaining. So it is part of that turning good genes on and turning bad genes off. As far as the thyroid goes, one thing is run the right blood work. There's ratios that we do. We look at different functional ranges. So again, going to one of our doctors, that really is trained, that I've trained around the country that does this, is important, because just for the testing reason alone, but obviously, for the treatment reason. But a little tip on the thyroid, then I'll move to the adrenals just to keep it in order.
Okay.
Iodine, 20-25% of all thyroid conditions are severe iodine deficiency. Especially if you're living in central United States, there's massive iodine deficiency. People that live on the East Coast or the West Coast, there's a little better, but severe in the center of the country, because there's just no iodine in the soil. There's just no iodine in the environment. today it is one of the 5, if you haven't read that article, the 5 great deficiencies that I believe, all of us need to be aware of. There's an article about that. Read it. But iodine is one of those 5 true deficiencies today. And it can lead to major thyroid problems. Heavy metals, which we're exposed to today, it's ubiquitous in our society, really bind to the same receptors as iodine. And it blocks the receptor. You need iodine to make thyroid hormone. So if you're deficient and then heavy metals is blocking it, now we've got a big problem. So iodine, but you have to take it in the right ratio. There's a product that we sell on our website called TMI, like too much information, TMI. It has the iodide and the iodine. The iodide is used more for the thyroid. The iodine is used more in breast tissue in the brain. So people don't understand that when you lack iodine, you start losing IQ, you start losing brain function, become brain fog, and it plays a large role in breast health, hormone health. To make certain estrogens, you need iodine. So very, very important. But anyways, you want that.
I love it.
There it is. We want that. There's a perfect ratio that's been shown to work really well. Then there's other herbal, which we call herbalomics, in that product that help the iodine actually be delivered to the tissues where you actually need it. So that's an amazing product. I take that product every week. I take probably, I would say 3 times a week I take 2 of those pills. So I don't take it every day. I just pop them randomly as if I would eat. But again, my iodine levels are good, but I do it just to maintain my iodine levels.
Right.
That important. So
here's another trick, Dr. Pompa. When another major oxidative stress in radiation. 2 things. So why am I so beat up, a healthy guy, after traveling, 8 hours to Paris and 9 hours back on the plane? You're so high up in the atmosphere. Think about radiation from the sun just smashing your cells, causing cellular inflammation and rust, essentially oxidative stress. And there's radiation. So before you travel, if you want to protect your cells from cellular death or apoptosis, cellular death, am I right on that?
Mm-hmm.
You're taking this. I always take this before I get on the plane and after I get off the plane. I take 2. This trip I forgot. And just so you know, guys, I'm a healthy fella, but post that trip, Dan, I've had headaches and all kind. I got weird joint inflammation in this joint and this pointer finger. It's amazing that just that amount of travel. And now again, I'm not perfect, I have a great perfect diet, but that amount of travel still jacked me up, and I have to supplement to get some of those symptoms removed. And I have to.
The amount of radiation when you fly is actually huge. But now the radiation coming over from Fukushima and people eating fish and other things with that radiation in it, iodine becomes more important. By the way, that's what you give someone who has radiation poisoning. So they were giving people iodine when they're exposed to these fallouts like Fukushima. If you all remember 3 Mile Island and all that stuff, but that was back in my day. But anyways, they give them high levels of iodine. So iodine, because of the levels of radiation, are actually far more important today. When you go to the Hawaiian Islands, the radiation levels are extreme. However, those people have a lot of iodine in their diet, fortunately, and it protects them. But when Americans go there, they're not as protected, and they come back and they're not well. So, we have to be very careful. Iodine, it plays that role. So that's one, and you might want to have Krista go get a bottle of GB and GA. GB is another one you take when you travel because it's a pituitary product. This is the control tower here. And by the way, when we talk about toxins, and toxins interfering with the thyroid and the adrenals, a lot of it comes from the control tower. Right in the center of our brain, studies show that the amount of silver fillings that you have in your mouth is proportional to how much mercury you have in your brain, but not just your brain, your pituitary hypothalamus, which is the center, it's the control tower for all of your hormones, your endocrine system. That's why I couldn't sleep. That's why I couldn't adapt to stress. That's why my thyroid wasn't working well. All the mercury was in my pituitary. Look, we have a special protocol that gets it out of the pituitary. If you please read the article. I know I'm pushing articles today. Read the article, When Detox Becomes Dangerous. Please, it's on the site. When Detox Becomes Dangerous. I talk about this. And there's 3 series, part 1, part 2, part 3. Read them all because it's important. If you don't get the inorganic mercury out of that pituitary, we just released an article. We just wrote the article that I did with the interview for Dr. Grieco. And in that, the very end, I talk about how important it is to get the inorganic mercury out of that brain, out of that pituitary, which controls the thyroid and the adrenals. But that GB, if you have it, hold it up. When I travel, I take that with the iodine, as well as a little bit of melatonin, 3 milligrams of melatonin. Yeah, but those two I always take because the pituitary hypothalamus helps you adapt even to the time change in the stress. And then GA is an adrenal product that is also very important right there. That helps support the adrenals of times of stress. And again, if you don't work upstream, it's all for nothing. But those are those products that I love. You know, and Warren, we've used them for years and years and years.
Yeah, you've been using them for 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we still use them in our health even today. But, you know, the adrenals, you know, that's a product that I love. There's another one called Serophos that actually helps taper down cortisol. So many people are in this hyperadrenal state, even at the wrong time. That's why you can't get to sleep often or wake up in the middle of the night. Serophos tapers down the cortisol. By the way, it's another reason why you gain weight. So Serophos calms the system and rests the adrenals. And I love putting it as a crutch with that GA, and oftentimes even with that GB. So, you know, those are just some tips. And here's another great tip. Sea salt. 2 teaspoons of sea salt a day. Man, the adrenals need that sodium and potassium. And people that are just strained in their adrenals, you know, they take some sea salt and they feel they adapt so much better. So sea salt, very important. You know, just in review, we talked about methylation. There's a product called MORS, M-O-R-S.
I have the liquid version here on my desk because I take it.
Spin it. There you go. All the way spin, spin, spin. Anyways, and there it is. And then the methyl bombs, the perk and the fully rinse, that's methylation. And
I took that right while I was on the show because if I forgot, I'm not good. So I need it right now.
Absolutely.
So what is it? One of these to 1 drop of these?
Yeah, exactly.
1 to 1.
Yep. So then, anyways, and typically even just 1 or 2 mores a day. And then the iodine, we actually, if someone has a thyroid issue, you have to ramp it up even to high dose, orthomolecular amounts of 50 milligrams. But you should work with a practitioner with that for sure. But, you know, again, just something you can do on your own, obviously supporting, you know, the extra sea salt, the GA, that's Serophos. If she wants to go get that, it's SERIPHOS.
She's not in the office right now. I'm trying to see if it's on my supplement shelf.
Yeah,
I pretty much have everything on my supplement shelf that you recommend. I take them, you know, on and off. You know, when I first got sick, obviously I was taking almost everything for a season, and now as I got healthy, I take them, you know, during.
I'm gonna take our viewers on a little fun. Come on, we're gonna end this show good. This is gonna be a good one. We're gonna take a little field trip.
The Dr. Pompa's cabinet.
I'm gonna embarrass my daughter. This is my daughter's room. Isn't that horrific? I mean, what is going on here today? Someone's going to be in trouble. By the way, those books you saw on the floor, those were dropped at 11 o'clock at night. I was falling asleep and I jumped. So now we're walking down. Hopefully we see some animals along the way in our journey. It kind of looks like a little safari we have going on. Oh, look, there's an animal up there. Do we see that animal? We'll run into more animals. Let me turn off the television here that my wife was watching. Oh, I'm listening to it. I got to turn this off here. Wait, okay. Now, here's the supplement cabinet. This is why we did the field trip. This is Dr. Pompa's supplement cabinet. You can see there's, let's see what we have. We have L-Liver. This is one of my favorite products, by the way. Oh, Spectra 1. I love Spectra. This is the multivitamin. Watch the video I did on this. Is the only multivitamin I take. I never took a multivitamin ever in my life. This is a true whole food multivitamin. People are always asking me with CVO oil. I love CVO oil. This is a krill oil that has a lot of other fat components, lowers particle number of cholesterol, helps you become a fat burner. I take that every day. Let's see what else. Oh, here's my Moors. Here's the Moors. This is the bottle Moors. There it is, the Moors. So you can see, oh, another one. This is Sinulin. This helps regulate blood sugar, but as an athlete, I'm a firm believer. Oh, and then here's my ASEA. This is the packets. It's not the bottle, so it's all square. I took it this morning. There it is.
Yeah. During the call, so.
Ah, and look, Serophos. Here is the Serophos, right? So love that product. So anyways, there you see it. It's true. Let's see what Dr. Pompa has in his refrigerator this morning. We're going to look to see here. So someone actually requested this, by the way, in an email. I did. Well, let's see. This is actually raw milk right here that we get locally, and it's A2. How about that? Oh, look, X Factor butter oil. This heals the gut, folks. This is amazing, amazing stuff. We sell it on our website. These are cage-free eggs, organic, large, cage-free, free-range eggs. Awesome. These are green beans, last night's dinner, cauliflower, sprouts. Oh gosh, that's raw dog food. We don't want to pull that out. Well, anyways, you see, I do practice what I preach. You know, that was obviously. And here's all the vegetables under here. Oh, and by the way, look at all these. Oh, and all my raw cheeses. Here's a local raw cheese. I have some Beyond Organic cheese in here. I don't know if you can see that, but anyways, all right, that's all fun.
And then all your supplements that need to be stored in the refrigerator.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Here's MB. Amazing probiotic. This one I'll talk about in a little bit. It's called ProbioPhage. It's actually phage, which we're going to do a whole show on this because we're actually developing a new product here. Really exciting research there as far as the microbiome goes. But well, there you have it. Wasn't that fun, folks?
It was fun for me. Yeah. I missed you, Doc. I can't wait. I'm actually going to be there next Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here I promised you more animals on our field trip, but here's a cute one. Look how cute she is. Remy, look. See how cute? Oh, there's another one. So we saw some animals on our field trip too. We'll head back upstairs. So, well, okay, but that's fun. I do practice what I preach. If you went in Warren's home, he could take you on the same field trip. His supplement cabinet looks the same. His daughter's room is much cleaner, I assure you. And
his floor. Really good job.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, no, I mean, we do. It's, you know, my kids, you know, I could go in their rooms and actually show you their little supplement areas.
Well, this is the office, and you can see my supplements over on that shelf, right? So all those. And then all the ones on my desk and ones underneath my desk where you can't see them. There's some underneath my computer thing there. So I'm surrounded probably of about 40 supplements, you know, just in case. It's a security blanket at times, but I do take them throughout the day sporadically.
Well, you know, Warren, I'm healthier today than I ever have been ever in my life. You know? So, you know, I'm healthy. I'll be 50 next year. Oh, another great bacteria product, Prescript Assist.
Prescript Assist, yeah.
And anyways, you know, I'm healthier today than like I said, I've ever been in my life, honestly. And
I'm healthier now than before I got sick.
Me too. I am too. But, you know, we still take the stuff, you know, because we understand. You know, we get it. You know, I'm never going back, Warren. It's a fear of mine. I'll never go back, you know. And I know when I was getting well and I would have those good spells and it would end with me not feeling well. I would panic and I would tell my wife, I can't go back. I just can't go back. And it was almost harder because I will never go back to how sick I was. And so you can look at our food and our supplements and think, man, these guys go overboard. I don't believe it. I eat the way humans are meant to eat. You know, it's take the greatest supplements in the world. It's what got me well. It's what's going to keep me well. So, well, anyways, with that said, I mean, this is a big topic of adrenals and thyroid. Share this one with your friends. And again, the upstream message is go upstream. Yeah, we gave you some crutches. We gave you some things that you need to do in the interim, is, you know, to adapt. But ultimately, go upstream, folks. Read those articles. Please read them.
All right. Thanks again, Dr. Hunt, for your time. Signing off, Cellular Healing TV, episode 34. What a great success. Thanks so much for sharing your cabinet. I'm kind of wanting to do that when I get to my house. So one of these days, you'll go see mine, and it's massive. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great weekend. Signing off, Cellular Healing TV.
Got it.